In this release training video, we will be taking you through version 2.29 of the latest EventSpark app update to demonstrate to you what the capabilities of this new release are. We highly recommend updating your EventSpark app to the latest version to enjoy all the benefits and new functionalities we have made available for you.
Right, team. So how do you actually find out more information around our latest releases? So we obviously have a mail list. I mean, that's the first thing. The second thing is, as we're interacting with you, your backlog features make their way onto our backlog. And if some of your features are like high on the agenda, we'll keep in constant contact with you. We do also have obviously a social presence, as well as our Confluence environments. So why I wanted to bring that up is just so that you are aware, we do have these amazing pages that you can find that we spend a lot of time customizing. And this is kind of what it looks like. So this is our space. And our space tells you basically all the latest functionality for our versions. If you need some download links, you can find that here as well. You can also download directly from the App Store. So if you are on the App Exchange, you can download. If it prompts you about like a reinstallation, it's not going to do that. You can basically make sure you're logged in and then download that into the right environment. Now, directly from our wiki, there's a couple of things you can do here, right? You can actually find the release notes, the upgrade guides, user guides, as well as our translation guides. So translation guides is quite a unique feature where you can basically relabel every piece of functionality in our system, either to different language. So it could remain in, say, English, but you could change the wording to make it more specific to your organization, or you could even relabel it in a totally different language of your choice. Now, translation is not a new feature, but it is something people are always asking the support team as well as myself. So I just thought I'd make that well known, that if you are looking to change buttons, labels, etc., this is what you want to look at. If you do want to completely change the language of the application, this is what you want to look at. Linked to our user guides, we actually have YouTube videos. So I generally share the YouTube links, and you can find it in any one of our signatures. Tons of YouTube content. Our marketing team has been working really well with the support team over the last couple of months to just pump out videos. We found that our customers find it easier sort of to learn through videos rather than going through sort of the user guides. So please also, if you are struggling, just let us know what videos you want created, and we can try and make everyone's life a bit easier. Now, let's actually get into some of the new functionality that's been launched in our latest release. I'm going to do that a bit differently this time. Usually what I do is I just jump straight to the functionality. I show you what that looks like. What I want to do this time is I want to actually start from just a template, clone that template into an event, and then from there, start unlocking these new features. The reason I want to do that is just to bring you all up to speed. I know we have some brand new customers on this call, and I don't want to take anything for granted. I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So there's a couple of things I want to take you through today. Those are things like fully customized surveys, which has been on the backlog for a while now. Session bookings, we've had a whole bunch of enhancements on how exactly that fits together. Different types of registration methods. Ad hoc communications, the way that we do QR check-in, as well as a new sort of bug fixing capability that we've introduced into the product. Right, so what I'm going to do is on one of my templates, this is a physical template. I'm going to clone that template. And I mean, you guys do this all the time, but I'll give it a name. And I'll give it a title. Give it a friendly URL. I'm not going to worry about any taglines today. We'll say that this event maybe starts on Thursday. It ends on Thursday. The reg cutoff is on maybe Thursday as well. What we'll do is this will be an evening event. So it will start at 5 p.m. It will end a bit later, so 8. And, we'll cut it off in the morning. Again, you have all the different functions that you might want to clone. For those of you who don't know, you can default these. You can even make them mandatory. So if you notice that maybe your event managers keep forgetting to clone something, you can actually make that mandatory so that it will always be cloned with those relevant templates. Once I am happy with that, I can literally click clone. And now I can start jumping into the new functionality that we've included in 2.29. So wow, that was really quick. We've got our event up and running. And now we want to make sure that we've got our different icons green. But let's start on one of the new functionalities that we've recently brought out. That is revolving around registration method. Now, what is a registration method? Well, essentially, you should all be familiar with open enrollment and invitation. Open enrollment is you can create an event, anybody can register for that. So if they get a hold of the registration link, they can register for that event. You can also invite them to the event, which means that they could get an RSVP, just like you all did. You can register through the RSVP. You can share that with your teammates or your clients or whoever you want to share that with, and they can actually register themselves as well, hence open enrollment. Invitation only is I've got leads, I've got contacts. I want to invite those leads and contacts. And if anyone else comes across that link, they will not be able to register. So that's great for like closed function events. We then have anonymous enrollment. And what that is more like a CMS requirement for our healthcare customers. And that allows people to register anonymously. But we do have a new feature that has been pulled into the platform. And that is open enrollment for contacts only. Now, what exactly does that do? That gives you the ability to allow your customers to register for your event if they are contacts or if they are invited leads and contacts. So what does that mean? Basically, I come along, Joe Soap, I try and register for an event. I'm not a member of your organization or I'm not a client in your CRM. And when I type in my email address and I hit register, it says, sorry, you do not exist. Now that's a new feature, obviously, that quite a few of you have been asking for, especially the member-based organizations. And I can show you how that works. So you'll set your registration method to open enrollment for contacts. You will check if you have anything else that you need to complete. So add delegates to campaign. I'm going to say no. And I'm pretty happy with this event. So what I will do now is I will save. Cool. So I will now change my status to active. I'll click save. And remember, today's a live demo. I don't have any pre-open screens. Well, none at least right now. So let's hope everything goes well. So what you need to do to have this functionality enabled is you do need to have the search before you create. Now, some of you might not know what that is. If I turn this off and I click no, you can see it actually gives a validation and it says, hold on, Carl. This is actually an open enrollment event. You cannot enable this setting without search enabled because the system needs to search for the contact and see if it actually exists. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in an email that I hope does not exist and click next. There we go. Unable to register using this email address. It could not match a contact record. So that's really cool, right? That's something quite a few of you have been asking for. So now what we'll do is we will actually put in my email address, which I know is in the system. We'll click next, and that will find me. Depending on whether I have OTP switched on, which I currently do have. And again, what is OTP? It's verification. So if you want to have that second sort of step of verifying who actually is registering, then that's a feature you can turn on or off. So I've received my verification. I'll put that into the system and click submit. Now, as a contact, I can actually register for this event and I'm able to go through that registration process. So super simple feature, works really nicely. Again, it is mostly based on the fact that you only want people to register if their contact exists in your system or if they are invited lead or contact. Another feature I want to show you directly from here is our new session booking capabilities. Now, in order to actually book a session needs to exist. Now, where do you create sessions? Basically, that will belong to content. Now, you can really bougie up your sessions and add a whole bunch of cool functionality. But for today's training, we're not going to add too much information. So we first want to make sure that session bookings is enabled. So how do you enable session bookings? You make sure that this pick this value is set to applicable after registration is completed. So after registration is completed, you will allow your guests to actually book your sessions. So you'll save that. Okay, the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are aware of the start and end times of your event. Mine seemed like a basic thing, right? But we have validation on our sessions to ensure that you're not creating sessions that are falling outside of your date ranges and your parameters. So my first session will start at 5 p.m. on the 13th. So pretty easy to do this, right? You create the session and you can say like training, 101. It's the first session of the day. You'll choose the date when that is happening. The start time, if I choose a time outside of the event time, our validation will kick in and say, sorry, that's not a valid time. We'll say that starts at 5:15. And we'll choose a time when it actually ends. So we'll say that ends at 5:30. Just a quick session. You can link it to your speakers if you do have any speakers on that event. You can link it to the actual venue itself. You can even create a space. This is quite cool. So if this is something like a breakout room, a keynote area, a coffee lounge, you can actually create those spaces and split up that venue according to each session. You then decide whether that that session is bookable. So obviously some sessions are not bookable. You might have a keynote, you have 1,000 clients at your event. It's going to be sort of a fight over who gets in there. So just make it first come, first serve. For this one, we are going to make it sort of registerable. And you can also put in a capacity. We'll call this training 101. And the description will be like first session. We'll click save. And once we've saved that, you'll notice that that session is now visible. Now, what we'll do is we'll go back to our event page and we'll refresh that page. And we will click on the agenda. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that the agenda has not changed to that session. This is something a few clients have asked us over the years. Basically, guys, if you do have custom text in this section over here, it will override the session. So that's just something we've added. So if you want to quickly add some custom text while you're building out your session backlog, it's super easy. You just put that in here. And when you are ready for your session backlog to go live, you can take that text out. You can literally just save it, refresh this page, and now your agenda is visible. Cool. Very basic session. Hopefully our customers will register for it, but I'm happy with it. So now what we'll do is we will go and search for Carl again. This time around, I'll just switch off verification just so that you can all see how that works. So I'll go to my verification, click no, and just make things a bit easier for myself. So type in Kyle, click register. Cool. So now I'm registered and I can start booking sessions. Really cool. So I can click book sessions. I can view the session. Awesome. That's the one I registered for. I want to register for, and I click register. Once I've registered for that session, I can cancel, and then I can re-register. So if clients realize along the lines that, oops, they've actually they're not interested, but now they are interested and they want to re-add it, they can absolutely do that. Okay. Now, another awesome bit of functionality that has found its way into our product is the new QR code functionality. So we have had QR codes for a while now, but you've had to add them to a ticket. That's cool, but you might not want tickets for your event. It might just be a basic event that you want to make a way to, and you don't necessarily want to have people print tickets or have a PDF on their phones or whatever the case. So I've now registered for this event, and you can see that because I've now chosen a session and I've got all my details, and I'm super happy. But I've also received an email including a QR code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring that up on screen now. So I just want to find that. Cool. So if I bring that over and I bring up my email, great. So this is my email. I'm super happy with this email. So it's got my details and it's also got a QR code embedded in the email. So instead of having to add a PDF ticket, which you can absolutely still do, you will now also have the QR code that's embedded. How do you generate that QR code? Cool. It's pretty simple. The first thing you need to know is your event has to have a physical venue. That's the first thing. Second thing is you do need to have a check-in form. And on that check-in form, you do need to have scan QR code enabled. So this will not work if you do not have scan QR code enabled. When you have scan QR code enabled and you've got a physical venue, on your actual check-in, which is this link, by the way, for those of you who have never used this, when I actually open that up, it might not load the camera just because I am on, okay, cool. So just like I said, because I am sharing my camera, it is going to give me this message, but your camera will load here and you can actually go and scan that QR. So what I'll actually do for today's session is I'll quickly switch off my camera and I will get this to actually function. So I'm going to turn off my camera quickly and I'll refresh this page. Now, you'll notice that the camera is now displaying on the screen. You'll notice that on my mobile, I have the email. So what I'll do is I will just enhance the QR and I'll put that QR code to the screen. Now, basically, it will read in my details and it'll automatically pull up my details. Obviously, if you enable different things like maybe sign in, then I can sign in and I can complete my registration. So as easy as that, I've now gone through that process of registering for an event, sending the QR code to that client, using the QR code to check in, and I've successfully checked in to that event. Okay, super exciting. How do you enable that? The only thing you need to do is in the email templates, if you go to any one of these email templates, maybe I'll show you from the registration completion, and you click edit email template, there is a code that you can insert that says show QR code. And if that is set to true, then the email templates associated will automatically pull in that QR code for check-in. So again, pretty cool bit of functionality. You can decide when to use it, when not to use it. You can also have multiple forms. So if you have a check-in form that does not make use of the QR scan, then it's just not going to render it. So you don't have to fiddle around with your email template every time. With these classic email templates, just be aware that somebody with the correct permissions will need to actually add this in. Okay, so we're starting to make some good headway through our event. We've managed to set the different type of event registration. We've been able to register for that. We've been able to now choose our session. We know who's actually booked the sessions. And we got some pretty cool reporting on who's booking and who's not booking and that stuff. We've sent out the QR code. We've checked in with the QR code. But one of the things we've noticed is that our event manager wants to change up our template a bit. They've said, cool, we've had some feedback from our clients and we just want to change up our template for this event. So how do you do that? If you can remember from most of the trainings that all of you have done, is the microsite template controls the attributes of the page. So that will control, for instance, where the logo is displayed, how the banner is rendered, where the registration form is displayed, and now where your tabs are displayed. So it's a pretty cool feature that we're excited about. And we're starting to bring in new UIs. Obviously, we're bringing in new UIs to cater for our new functionality and also extend itself to our new templates. This is one of our new templates. Group bookings is another new template. So just this ability for you to decide, if you're having a super simple event, we don't want to overcomplicate your life. If EventSpark is giving you everything you need right now, we don't want to introduce new features that are just going to burden you, right? So, but we do have clients, however, that are always pushing the envelope or always needing a new functionality. So what we do is we click on the microsite template, and now you can change the type. So we're going to move away from tabs and we'll move to menus. You can also enable a modal pop-up now. So previously we had a couple of left, right, bottom, top. We have a new feature called tab, which is quite cool. So the registration form can actually be within a tab. But if you enable pages and menus, you would then choose modal. You would then save that. And let me show you what that does. If we go back to our event and we refresh our event page, in real time, that page has changed. Pretty cool, right? So now you've got these top menu navigations that your clients can basically navigate through. Remember, with EventSpark, one of the amazing things is you can have many microsite templates. So you could theoretically have one that is set to tabs, one that is set to menus, one that is set to whatever other views you would like to see. Now, what is one of the big differences with this? The registration is now a button rather than a form. So when I log in, I can see if I'm already registered and I can type in my email. So if I come in here and I type in and I click next, cool, it finds me, it allows me to book a session, update, cancel, register someone else, or obviously add to my calendar. For those of you who haven't seen this, it is just a feature that you can enable. Pretty epic feature because it takes you directly to your calendar. It includes the map and it adds it immediately. Okay, so going back to this view, if I am now logged in, you will notice that it allows me to manage my booking, which again is a pretty cool feature. So if I keep that page open, I can go back and manage my booking and leave it open. Obviously, we added that functionality to keep the state. So if you're adding multiple sessions, you're not constantly having to like log in, log out, log in, log out. It keeps the state. You can go and fiddle around with it. Now, if I do decide to register someone else, however, that will then kind of like take me into a new form. And from here, I can type in that new person's details. And if it doesn't find that new person, it gives me that error that says, hold on, this person is not a contact in your system. Okay, so that is the new view. Had a lot of really good feedback around this. A lot of customers are really liking this view. Keep in mind that we will constantly enhance it. This is our first iteration. It's going to have a big play in the group bookings UI. It will have a bigger play in sessions as we enhance sessions. There's a lot we still need to do. So you will see a lot more of this template as it becomes more and more utilized in the system. Now, one of the features that a lot of you have been asking about is, hey guys, we love your system, we love your surveys, but can we do custom surveys? Either because you want to save a little bit of money, not using third-party survey tools, or maybe you just really want all of that information truly synced up with your environment. So you can actually now create custom survey forms. This is an example of a custom survey. You can see immediately it also renders in custom fonts. So that's something a lot of our clients really like about our product is it's very extensible. You can have custom fonts, custom themes, and all that good stuff. So this is our custom font. You'll see that we've kept our MPS weighting that got great reviews in our previous versions. But now you can add your own custom pick lists, multi-select pick lists. You can add 5-weight scales. So 5-weight scales is obviously 1 to 5 based on questions. And these are now stars to make things even easier for you. You can add checkboxes. You can add custom text, single pick list values, and then a couple of other 5 weights, as well as just a single sort of number field. Cool. This is just quite a nice example. Obviously, if you want more detail on this or more training, we can absolutely arrange that. But I know there's probably quite a few of you smiling right now because this is some functionality that you've wanted for a while. Okay. Where does the data get stored for surveys? Again, common question. The data for surveys actually gets stored on the delegate. So currently, out of the box, it will only have our standard questionnaires. So if I scroll down sort of to the bottom here, you can see feedback. These are the questions that we currently have. But you can actually add additional fields, and then you would store the custom data in those fields. So the data is always in Salesforce. It's never lost. You can easily report on it because it's much easier to report on fields than it is records and all that other stuff. And it will remain on those delegates. Obviously, if an individual is registering across multiple events, you can start getting averages for that individual, which is also quite a nice feature. Okay. Right. So going back to our event, what have we done now? We have changed the registration method. We have registered. We've received our communications. We've basically registered for some sessions. We've checked into that event. We've done the post-event survey. All really good. We do have a new feature, which is quite a subtle feature, but it does make quite a big difference. Some of you have been using this for a while because we were kind of doing it as a customization. Now it is generally available. And what is that functionality? Well, it is ad hoc communications. Such a cool feature. Basically, as an event manager, things happen, right? Things change, sessions change, parking changes, the weather changes. You might need to communicate with your clients super quickly. So you can actually put in a subject. You can say like room change. And you can say like, I actually put it there, but it should be here. Like room has changed to room 101. Now you can save that and you can say, cool, I want to send off an immediate email using this ad hoc email template. I want to send that immediately to everybody who's checked into my event or anybody who's attended my event. Isn't that cool? So now you've actually communicated them. You've sent them a push notification. You've sent them a push email, and you've said to your resource like, "Hey guys, the room has changed." Previously, that's not going to be so easy. You might have to create an email template. You might have to trigger off that email template. Now you can just insert that text and just basically send it out immediately. Now, what's cool about this is it is reusable. So theoretically, maybe the lunch has changed. We're having a lot of changes today. served in 202. So we had to make a change because we're using 101. We need to use 202. And again, we can send out that comms. You can even schedule it. So you can say, right, I want to send out the lunch change at past. And I can click send. Okay, so I've put it in the past, but you would obviously put it at the right time. Say whatever time you want to choose, you would then send that out. Okay, so that is ad hoc communications. Again, what you want to look out for is you want to look out for the ad hoc subject, for the ad hoc message. Once those two things have been completed, you want to click send comms. You want to actually choose that comms. You want to make sure that you're not choosing a date in the past, that you are choosing a date in the future. So like I mentioned, maybe we want to send that out at 2:30 and then you can hit the send button. That is our new ad hoc communication functionality. Okay, so one of the things we talk about is Google enhancements. So Google changed their QR code functionality, which actually kind of broke the QR code. So if you are on a later version, you do want to, or earlier version, you do want us to actually upgrade you or upgrade yourself, just so that you can get the new QR code functionality working. This time around, we've made it a bit easier for you. So what I mean by that, so this time around, we give you the QR code, but we also give you access to the URL. Now, why would you want that? Because I know a lot of you are also using Marketing Cloud, you're using Account Engagement, which is Pardot. I get confused between the two. You might be using MailChimp, you might be using whatever tools you use, right? So this time around, instead of only giving you the QR code, you can actually embed this URL into any third-party mailing client, and it will still generate that QR code. So that's a big thing, right? That is something a lot of clients were super happy about when we notified them. They were part of our beta, and we let them know, and they were like, this is a game changer. Because now you can still send that QR code. You can send it from your Marketing Cloud. Your clients can use that to check into the event. And it just makes everything more of a seamless process. Okay, another thing we have enhanced is we have also enhanced some of our communication rules. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the backend of EventSpark, you access it from the setup like that. And from the setup, you would click on like your comms plans. You would have a look at what rules are in the comms plan. And maybe, for instance, you want to say, cool, reminder to pay. Now, one of the complaints we had previously was that reminder to pay was kind of from registration date. Okay, so you were kind of saying like it was from the registration date. We've added a new trigger where it is a reminder to pay date. So instead of it being like 10 days from registration or 3 days to event start date, you can actually have it from a registration date or from a payment date. So if you try to pay today, remind you to pay in 2 days' time. If you try to pay today, remind you to pay in a month's time. So instead of having that like dependency on the event start date or end date, you can now have it off the payment date, which I know is going to make things a lot better for those of you who use payments. Okay, another functionality, strangely enough, that made it into our backlog because quite a few people had asked for it was event registration cutoff. So what does that actually mean? Previously, if you tried to make changes to a registration, so if I had already registered, let's say Kyle at SparkSmiths, if I had already registered and the cutoff date was, say, like now, it would completely stop me from updating. It would stop new people from trying to register, which was the correct behavior, but it would also stop current customers from trying to update their booking. So we gave some consideration to that, and we thought of new dates and all this weird and wonderful things. And we decided that the best way to counteract this was to allow individuals who have registered to update their information at any time, unless you change this behavior of after registration. So what does that mean? So let me actually show you that in real time. So we'll see that our cutoff date is that time and that date. Okay, so what are we going to do here? We're going to change that to today. So we'll say like that's now. We're going to change that to like 12 p.m. as an example, because that's already an hour and 40 minutes ago. So now the behavior of the old system would be to prevent me from updating my registration. But you can see that that's not the case anymore. I can go back to manage my booking, and I can still go ahead and edit and update my information. Now, you might be asking the question like, hey, Kyle, that's really cool. But what happens if I really do want people to not make updates? Then what you will do is, it's super simple. You'll just change this to say, okay, like now we're not allowing any more updates, make no changes. And if I refresh this page and Kyle comes along, he cannot make any updates to his registration. Okay, if he tries to click register someone else, registration is closed. So that's a cool bit of functionality. Registration will close for new registrants, but it will remain open for updates up until the point that you then stop those updates from happening simply by updating this bit of functionality. Cool. Right. Another feature that we've introduced into our system, funny enough, it's actually been there for a while, but we have now sort of made it generally available, is a couple of customers have asked over the last couple of months, like, hey guys, we do unfortunately have the case where people share email addresses. It's not that common for like a corporate environment. It's not that common for a member-based environment, but it can be common for like volunteer-based organizations, organizations that are working with the elderly. So anywhere where you might have like a family booking on one email or where they're sharing an email, etc. So we do have a feature, registration per email address, that you can now enable or disable. Pretty cool, right? So you can say for this event, I only want to allow one registration email, so that if that email is like reused, it will fail. It will not allow you to reuse kyle@sparksmith.com. But you can obviously change that to more than one. Now, caveat being, if you do allow more than one, you probably want to disable the search before you create. That's just something you're going to have to keep in mind. This functionality is more for like a basic type of event where maybe, like I said, maybe it's a volunteer and you've got like a whole family registering on a shared email address. You probably want to turn off the search before you create. Okay, that's just something worth noting. This will be default off. So actually behind the scenes, this is only set to only one, and it is even hidden. So if you do want to enable this, I know I have a couple of member-based organizations on this call, and you were the reason why we introduced this, and I'm sure you're pretty happy with it. But for other organizations, if you do want to enable this, let us know. It is disabled by standard because it does impact other things. We can enable it for you, and we can give you a full list of exactly what that is going to impact or not impact. Cool. So just before we wrap up, I am just giving a quick look at my functionality just to make sure I've got through everything. And I have missed one thing. This is more of a talk through than it's going to be like an actual show and tell. So as of version 2.27, obviously all of our functionality has to go through Salesforce's App Exchange security review. They weren't too happy with passwords being exposed, like even if it was a Zoom password. So if it's a Zoom password and it is ABCD, they wanted that to be encrypted. So how our system works is it will encrypt the Zoom code inside of Salesforce. So under your virtual details, you'll have like recording password as, like an encrypted code. But when the email is sent to the client or your member or your donor or whoever it is, our system decrypts that and it puts it in plain text. So Salesforce is happy because there's not a password being stored in plain text in the system. And the client is happy because they're getting it decrypted. Now, the problem is if you use custom email templates, when I say custom, I don't mean cloning our standard ones and editing them. I mean fully custom. Like some of our customers use their own email templates that they don't even use any of our email template code. Then they were having an issue where that code was generating encrypted in their emails. So we do have a feature that you can run in your environment now that will decrypt that. So if there are any of you sort of techies, system admins, because this will appeal to you, reach out to us and we can actually assist you on how to decrypt that bit of functionality. Cool. We then also give the ability now for our shuttle integration to actually send over customer card details or customer details to Stripe. So for some of you, you've been asking, hey, we want to send a receipt out of Stripe, or we want to add recurring billing out of Stripe, but the integration is not sending all of the relevant information. So our first enhancement was this enhancement. Our initial integration, it only sends a unique identifier, like an ID number, and then it syncs that back. So if you just have this disabled, all you will have in your payment gateway is a unique ID. When this is enabled, it sends over some contact information like the email, the first name, etc. When you have this enabled, it sends over more details. Those more details you can use for things like recurring billings, things like receipts, things like invoices, etc. So if you do want to have that turned on, you can actually just toggle that on or off. It is, however, for EventSpark admins. So you will need to just be aware of how that functionality works. Okay, like I mentioned, everything is stored in our Confluence environment. So lucky for me, I was actually just going through this as we were going through our training. Please, this is the link to that space. For all of you that registered through our landing page, these links can be found on our landing page. We have some amazing updates coming up in our next release. You will actually be notified on those features sooner rather than later. But you guys are really proactive, and we can't thank you enough for the features and functionalities and ideas that you share with us. So please keep that coming in. Some of you, I'm looking at the names, and some are more guilty than others. Some send way too much, but we won't mention anyone. But that's also amazing. So if you send through your requests to us, they do make it onto the backlog. They do get developed. I'm sure some of you can put your hands up if you testament to that. And they make our product better. We do kind of keep an open / backlog. It's not fully open. We're kind of looking for a tool now to make that a bit more transparent. So going into the next few releases, you'll kind of like see that happen. And then you can actually start tracking like, what's going to be in 2.3, or is it even 2.3? Is it going to be version 3? That's going to be a major milestone for us. So that actually brings us to the end of today's session. I know there's a lot of cool things for y'all in this application. Before I jumped off, I just want to have also a big thank you to the team. The team is growing by the day. If you follow us on like our LinkedIn, if you follow us on all those different channels, you'll also notice that Salesforce is one of our customers, and they're driving some really cool innovation within our product, and we're super proud of having such a an awesome customer. But I also just want to thank our team. Recently joined the team, Mike. He's actually come in to head up our CX division, so customer support division. So all cases get allocated to Mike. Mike then either responds to them immediately or brings in the different divisions for assistance. So if you are actually sending cases, they're probably going to Mike first. If you are wanting to follow up on them, you can always keep myself or one of your account executives CC'd. That's always fine with us. But yeah, I just wanted to give a quick introduction to that. Amazing, team. Well, I'll give you 5 minutes back just so you can detune before your next session. And we will be sharing the link with you. So thanks again. And thanks for being amazing. And I'm sure we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.